you don't necessarily need to address every single thing, but there are certain things that add up. There are certain things that pile up. And when you ignore small issues, they become major issues. It's like a snowball effect.
Why are you playing hard to get? Do you want to date this person or not? Do you want to marry this person or not? This whole idea of, oh, don't let them see that you're super interested. That's absolute trash and garbage.
Hi, guys. Welcome back. Welcome back. We're doing something a little different today. We are going to rate marriage advice.
Yeah, it's a new segment or series that we're starting that we're calling Trash or Treasure. So we're going to be looking at typical marriage or dating advice that you hear out there, you hear on social media or from your friends or family. We're going to give our thoughts on it. Now, one thing to note is we haven't discussed our opinions on these things. We know the advice, like we have a list that we're going to go through. We know that, but we don't know the other person's thoughts on whether it's trash or treasure. So this should be interesting. You want to get started with the first one?
Yes, let's jump right in. So the first advice is date around. Trash or treasure? 3, 2, 1. Trash.
Okay. Why do you think it's trash?
Well, I personally do not believe in dating around, mainly because you need to have some idea of what you're looking for, have a concrete of what your cores are, and you don't necessarily need to go on a date with somebody to see where they are either in alignment or disalignment with your cores. So how about yourself? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think when society says date around, they just mean like just any random person that you find that you think is interesting, or most of the time it's based on looks. Just, oh, they look good, go on a date. You know, it doesn't matter if you go on 50 dates, and with the way society is today, you know, you're not just being platonic. The date can lead to other things and things like that. So it's presented as just a way to find the right person. But like Oge just said, you don't need to do all of that to figure out who that person is. You can kind of take it easy, know what you're looking for. You might not know exactly what you're looking for, but know what you're looking for. Know the character traits that are actually beneficial in a relationship and a marriage. Before you accept a date or ask someone out, you should be kind of exploring those things. But is that why I was your first and last boyfriend, because you didn't want to date around?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, figured. Okay.
And jump right into the next one.
So the next piece of advice we're looking at is ditch the judgment and be open-minded. Trash or treasure? 3, 2, 1.
Treasure.
Okay. I thought we'd be different on that one, but
you seem a little nervous.
Yeah, I'm like, what's she gonna say? Because Oge has some radical thoughts about marriage and relationships that I'm curious to know what she thinks.
Oh, this is definitely a treasure. And we're referring to not your cores, not your main beliefs, the standard with which you live your life, but things that are not honestly that important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for instance, if your culture is important to you, that's great. It's awesome, but it doesn't necessarily mean that who you are going to get married to has to be from that culture. And as much as you want to create a home that is based on your culture, you could still find somebody from a different culture that holds the values. For instance, if you believe in gender roles, or if you believe in, just what is it about your culture, and then there might be someone out there from a different culture that has those as their core as well.
Right. This is a judgment. This might feel like it contradicts the don't date around that we're coming from, but that's not really it. It's like, this is the judgment based on superficial things. He's not 6'2", he's 5'8". Forget that. That's not gonna make him a better husband than someone who's 6'2", or worse husband that's 6'2", than someone who's 6'2". But keep, like Oge saying, keep the core.
Right.
And then the things that society tends to look down on people for, like, put that to the side and get to know the person. Again, get to know if their core principles are the same things that align with your vision, your values, and then go decide based on that. But when you judge someone based on the fact that they wear their hair short or something, it's like, No, be open-minded about those things, but then be firm on your core principles.
Right. I think our main point is just don't be petty. Don't say,
Yeah.
oh, he didn't respond in 2 hours or 3 hours
Right.
while he might have been working, or, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Just keep your core the core, and everything else, just let go of those
Let it have
judgments.
its place so that you can look for what's most important.
All right, we're going to jump right into the next one. And the advice is keep your standards high and your expectations low. Trash or treasure. 3, 2, 1. Trash.
Keep your standards high and your expectations high. Not unreasonable, just high. I think when people say keep your standards high and your expectations low, they're saying you should raise the bar, but don't expect someone to meet it. But if that's what you're doing, what's the point of raising the bar? There's a difference between having a standard like I'm looking for a woman who respects me and honors Christ as the head of our home and honors me as the head of the home under Christ. That's in today's society, unfortunately, a high standard. It's higher than the usual standard, but it's not unreasonable to look for someone like that. But if you're setting a standard like, I don't know, I want a woman who does 50 million different things, then that's unreasonable. At the same time, your expectation of that person should be also high, but not unreasonable. You might think that I have a high expectation of you to be honest. Would you say that?
Yes.
Yeah, I expect you to be honest.
Yes.
I expect you to be loving. That's a high. It's not low. I'm not gonna set a low expectation like, oh, if Oge lies once or twice a day, it's fine. No, that's a low expectation. I do expect you to be honest because that's the kind of family we want to build. So that's why I say this is trash.
Actually, this is talking about when it says expectations low, it's more referring to let them show you who they are. In regards to them being their natural self around you, but you have your standards. But this is coming from a place of once they show you who they are, you can then eliminate them if they're not the right person for you. But I actually still believe it's trash because you can still let people be themselves and show you who they are and still require more of them. And that's where the change happens. That's when the transformation happens. That's where the growth happens because you could be with someone that is that genuinely cares about you. But if you don't have the patience and the willingness to teach, it's not, someone that is just intentionally wanting to hurt you or intentionally wanting, that may have been what they were raised around. So if you have those high expectations, they're gonna follow through.
So you're saying when people say this, usually it's
For
keep your standards high, but don't expect the person that you're dating to meet them necessarily?
No, for this particular advice, when it says expectations low, it was more of like don't enforce, like don't essentially have your own core beliefs, have your own standards, know what is right, but then let them be themselves and let them show you if they are capable of meeting those imaginary standards in your head. And if they're not able to meet those imaginary standards, then they're not the right person for you. And I believe that's trash because you can voice those standards, but you can also patiently remind this person, hey, I expect this of you. And if they're not teachable, obviously there are things that are just major character flaws. But if there are certain things that it's like, hey, I know this is like what you were raised with, but this is not gonna, for lack of a better word, fly from here on out. We need to fix this. We need to address this because this, like I said earlier, and if they are willing to grow, then they might be worth holding on to.
Okay, well, I agree with you on that. I guess I just have a different perspective on the piece of advice itself.
Yes, keep your standards high and expectations
either
high.
Way, trash.
Which is what you said. Yeah.
So the next one is ignore the small issues. They will work themselves out. Trash or treasure? 3, 2, 1.
Trash.
Why do you think it's trash?
You don't necessarily need to address every single thing, but there are certain things that add up. There are certain things that pile up. And when you ignore small issues, they become major issues. It's like a snowball effect. But if you're able to get an understanding and really talk things out, then it sets you up for success in the long run. And the reason a lot of people ignore small issues, I know for me personally, was just avoidance of conflict. And that's not a good that's not a good approach when it comes to fostering a healthy relationship, because similar to how they need to know you, you need to know them, and you have to come to some level of agreement. But if you're both not wanting to get your hands dirty, it's
Yeah.
just gonna backfire. How about yourself? Why'd you say trash?
Yeah, same thing. If you ignore the small issues, they do become major things. So they become the seeds to major things. And what happens is you've been suppressing your honest thoughts about certain issues for so long that eventually it'll come out, and it'll come out in the meanest, nastiest way.
Most
And
fed up way.
yeah, and it'll be a whole blowout, and you wonder where did all this come from. And if it had been dealt with as time was going on, it wouldn't result in such a huge argument or a huge fight, because I'm pretty sure relationships have ended because certain issues were like, oh, it's not such a big deal, I don't want to fight about it, and it was never brought up, and it just kept piling on, especially if it's a repeated thing. You know me, I tend to wait for a trend, like, okay, this happened one time, it's one time, it's fine. Then the next time I'm like, okay, I'm starting to notice something here. And then before I get to the point where it's happened 10 times and now I'm fed up, I bring it up to you.
Right.
You tend to be more direct, like, hey, this happened today or yesterday. And, we find ways to not necessarily sugarcoat it, but approach things in a tactful way to bring up even the smallest issues. So yeah, that's trash.
So our next piece of advice that we are going to evaluate is play hard to get. Trash or treasure? 3, 2, 1. Trash.
Absolute trash.
Absolute trash.
Why are you playing hard to get? Do you want to date this person or not? Do you want to marry this person or not? This whole idea of, oh, don't let them see that you're super interested, that's absolute trash and garbage. I feel like I'm going off on this one because it's like, bro,
take it away.
You've seen someone that you want, they have character traits that you desire, and you're like, oh yeah, well, I don't want them to think I'm too interested. If they don't think you're interested, what do you expect them to do? They're gonna leave, and they're gonna be like, oh, I guess they weren't the one because they left when I didn't show interest. What were you expecting to happen? You can go ahead before I
no
get off.
You seem like you have a lot to get off your chest. For this one, it's absolute garbage, because it just comes from this mindset of playing games, and no one has time for that. No one has energy for that, and it's not an authentic representation of you, both the you are right now and the you're becoming. So it's absolutely pointless. If you want to say something, say something. If you want to do something, do something. If you feel a certain way, let them know. A part of creating intimacy, both in dating and in marriage, is showing the person your authentic self.
Yeah.
So this works against it in all capacities.
Yeah, just be mature about things. I feel like that's a very childish game that people play to kind of gauge, oh, I know they're interested in me and I'm also interested, but I'm just gonna play hard to get a little to make it more difficult. Person's gonna leave and then you'll be there crying.
Dang. If they text you and you have your phone in your hand and you see the text coming and you are able and available to text right away, just text back.
Just respond. Wait 3 hours.
That way they know that you value them to at least pause whatever you were originally doing, even if it was just scrolling on your media on social media, and you responded, and you can go right back into it, and voila, you've communicated.
Yeah. So moving on, the next one we're looking at is just be yourself. Trash or treasure? 3, 2, 1.
Trash.
Treasure. Oh, okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
Our first disagreement on this.
Yes.
I say it's treasure because, like we just said, you want to show your authentic self to someone. It doesn't mean that I don't see it as automatically meaning that you don't change or you don't adjust or you don't learn to grow, but show the person who you are. Don't try to put on a mask around the person. That's how I see it.
Right. I don't believe in putting on masks. I'm just going to make it very clear, but I do believe that you need to communicate where you are, when they met you, and you need to also communicate what you're becoming. I feel like it's not in the arena of manipulating. It's not in the arena of putting a false representation. But I believe that if you are dealing with certain things in the time frame that person came into your life, let them know who you want to be. Let them know what type of person you want. And if you have the capacity in different moments, show them glimpses of the future you that you envision, i.e. someone that is more patient in responding, someone that is gentle with their anger. But if you're currently as you are right now, someone that is still blow up, when you get angry, let them know, hey, this is how I am right now. I guess that's the bit, just be yourself. But you need to make sure that they understand that you are on a journey to transforming into who is more suitable to create a healthy life with.
Well, I feel like we agree on that then. Like we're both saying be who you are, but
right.
know that you're gonna change. So
right.
What's trash about it?
What I don't agree is just being as wild and as anger prone as you are without necessarily any reservation, like, hey, so being yourself, but not in a way that it hurts the person. If you have not fully healed,
see the areas where
exactly,
you want to grow. Okay, that's
and don't be if you know you're toxic, don't be toxic. Even though being toxic is you being yourself, that's not okay.
That right. I get that.
Oh, actually, one thing.
But if you're goofy, okay, this is how I thought about it. Like, if I'm a goofy person, I'm gonna be goofy around you.
Right.
I'm not gonna try and make you think that I'm always serious and things like that. And you might be surprised once or twice when that first comes out. Like, oh, I didn't know he was this, jovial or whatever, or I didn't know he was into this or that. That will come out eventually just by being myself. But how I see it is this versus putting on a mask to impress the person that you're dating or thinking of dating.
No, that is a no. But
Okay.
I would say, for instance, when we first started dating, I grew up in a household, or I was very much accustomed to getting upset and then saying stuff that I didn't mean, or calling you different names, and that was not okay. Even though it was still myself at that phase of my life. Yeah, okay. That was one of the first things that left. So yeah, be yourself so they can know what they can deal with and what they can edit and stuff.
But don't stay yourself.
Don't stay yourself if it's not conducive to a good home or healthy home, rather. Awesome. And then to the next one, we are going to talk about let them make the first move. Trash or treasure. 3, 2, 1. Trash.
You can make the first move if you're interested. Oge shot her shot first. I'm going to say that right now. Maybe in a future episode, we'll talk about it.
Yes.
But she shot her shot, and now we're here. So, ladies, you don't have to wait for the guy to make the first move. If you're interested, and again, character traits, not just they play basketball. Like, you're interested because of who they are, then it's fine to shoot first. And then when you win, it won't matter who shot first. It's not a badge. No one is applauding you for waiting and playing hard to get and things like that. No one. People have their own lives to worry about. Right. But yeah, you can go on.
And I think with ladies, there is this misconception of, oh, if I was to take the first step, would I have to take the first step in every aspect? No. Do just think who is going to communicate interest. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have to be the one planning all the dates. It doesn't mean if that is how things panned out in your previous relationship, then it was that specific person that you were with. But you can still be feminine. You can still, and even back in the day, in the 1800s, women dropped their handkerchief to show interest. There was ways to communicate. Hey, you can approach me because I find you intriguing, without necessarily being in your being masculine or feeling making him feel emasculated.
Right. Don't attach it to what doesn't apply. It's just, if you're interested, show interest, but don't catastrophize your whole life thinking, oh, that means I'm going to be acting as the man in the house because he didn't make the first move. No, it's not that deep. It's just, if you're interested, show interest. So next one is never go to bed angry with each other. Trash or treasure? 3, 2, 1.
Trash.
Treasure. Ooh. Trash? Okay. See, this is what I mean by okay has some radical thoughts. I want to hear why you think it's trash. Maybe if I think about it more.
No.
Oh, I know what you want to say. You go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of understand. I am actually really surprised. I would have naturally said treasure for this one, but I said trash, and the reason being is, okay, it was hard because, okay, let me take it back a little bit. I hear this advice all the time for people that have been married for a lifetime. 40, 50, 60 plus years of marriage, they say this advice: never go to bed angry. When we tried to implement it, we ended up not sleeping.
Oh, by we, you mean you. I sleep fine.
And that's the problem, guys. So
Yeah.
so I, as we got more into marriage, I realized that I needed the time where he was asleep, because I didn't need to voice everything that went through my head in regards to the conflict. He went to bed, and I'm never too upset to wake you up and then start continuing the argument. Granted, I woke up a little more upset sometimes, but then as we got more, as the months flew by, and a couple years now, I realized that there are a lot of things that were such big deals that had I just use the time at night where it's quiet, no responsibilities, to just process it, it gives me a better, and then not only that, go back to who is this person, not only to me, but period. It made it less overwhelming.
I
So when
see.
we addressed it the next morning, it was not a big deal.
I see. So for you, it ties into the kind of like
I need some
knowing
time.
yourself. You knew maybe at that time that things could get more heated if you were to voice what is going through your mind
Right.
before processing it later.
Right.
So sometimes it was better to like, okay, let's just go to bed and then deal with this tomorrow morning. Whereas for me, like, if we go to bed angry, I sleep fine. I sleep fine. And the reason I sleep fine is because like we know what we've been through and stuff. Like, I sleep because I'm like, at the end of the day, we're gonna work this out.
Yes.
So I just sleep and wake up, because I also trust that you are a very reflective person. Like, you're very introspective. You think both ways, not just, oh, he did this wrong, but you really reflect on what you could have done. So I trust that we will figure it out because of who you are and how you process things. I say it's treasure because of the typical, understanding of it, that you want to deal with some things before going to bed.
Right.
But I do understand where you're coming from, that, sometimes it's like, it's worse
Right.
when you're trying to get the feelings out and you say things in a negative way, and say things that you don't mean, all in the name of, well, we don't want to go to bed with this thing.
Right.
And then it makes it worse because we
Right.
still go to bed angry anyway,
Right.
but it's worse now because some words have been said before processing.
And
So,
then mixing lack of sleep, if
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how I'm eventually gonna fall asleep, no matter how much I process it. So I'll wake up with a little more energy and clarity
Yeah.
than I would have if we just started talking about something at 11, 12 at night. That that's just a recipe for disaster in my books.
Yeah, you could go with the next one.
So the next one we are gonna address is being with them is better than being alone. Trash or treasure? 3, 2, 1. Trash. Take it away.
I feel like that says, well, maybe not. Sometimes it's better to be alone than with someone in the name of, I'm running out of time, I'm getting older, or this is the only person who's shown interest in me, or things like that. You don't want to fall into that trap. Sometimes being alone is, not even sometimes, being alone is perfectly fine when your only other option is garbage. I mean, I don't want to say a person is garbage, but like characters and
The relationship
situations, and the
itself.
relationship itself is not conducive. It's not a great environment for you. Just being alone is better.
Right. It is being with somebody healthy, someone that actually pushes you to your goals, someone that is there to support and help, and then being alone, because both things support peace of mind. Those things support health. If you're able to shift your mindset to seeing being alone as a gift, you could really like take in the benefits of being alone. Like, you get your focus back. You get, you get your brain space to think. I mean, that's up to you how you use it, but essentially my point is you want to be in a place where you can push your life to the next level. And if it
Exactly.
means being alone, then please go ahead and take
Right.
it.
Being single is not necessarily a problem. And when we say being alone, we're not talking about your entire life, because I know someone's going to come with, God said it's not good for the man to be alone. We're not talking about your entire life here. We're saying between the decision of dating someone who is like you have to make excuses for why they would be a good match versus being alone, pick being alone.
Right.
You don't want to have to make excuses for someone. Yes, we talk about having grace and um, having your core principles, but not being judgmental and allowing someone to grow into who they want to be. But again, it's about who they want to be. If it's someone who gets very angry and lashes out, but they understand and they communicate that, hey, I'm working on this, and I want to be someone who can communicate even my frustrations calmly. That's not you making an excuse. That's who they really want to be. So
Right.
again, we're not saying be alone forever. We're just saying that it depends on the situation that you're dealing with.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Did you want me to take the next one?
Yeah, sure.
So our next one is make them jealous. Trash or treasure. 3, 2, 1. Trash.
Make them jealous for what? I think this goes back to
The playing
hard
games.
to get.
Right.
Make them jealous for what? It's like, oh, you're interested in them. You think they're interested in you, but you're acting like you're in a different relationship, or you're kind of like, giving hints but pulling back and give for what?
You're not a tug of war. It's just if they only garner interest in you when they see other people showing you interest, and there's something majorly wrong, because you have to keep up this charade like for as long as you have this person,
right?
And you never want to be in that situation, because life be life, and for lack of a better word, like you are gonna eventually, if you want to have kids, you're gonna be in the hospital, you're gonna have like there's so many things that life has in store for you. So you just need some level of stability when it comes to picking. And if this person is someone that has a wandering eye, then you need to let them wander away, because there's no point, there's no point in that. And not only that, someone needs to see you despite whatever else could be around them. They need to be able to see you and treasure who you are.
Some people see life as a competition, even in relationship. And this might be a controversial opinion, but that song that's like, you my little boo thing, so I don't give a what you do. So the girl in the song is already dating, and he's telling her that, tell your dude that I'm next.
Oh,
so it's like you're, when you have that, no shade to the artist, but
many shade.
But when you're when you have someone like that who's only interested because someone else is interested, and they're praying for the downfall of your current relationship so they can have you, what do you think is going to happen when they spot someone else in a different relationship?
Right.
And how are you even sure that they're going to stay committed to you, or that someone else won't come and take them out? I mean, you have a lot to think about when you're dealing with someone like that. So, I mean, that song is vibey, but it's like, that's my opinion.
And it's the most attractive thing about you, the fact that you are like currently with somebody else, like you're off limits or unattainable, because once you become theirs and now they have access to you, is the interest. Like that's just
and you deal with a whole lot of issues after that. I'm reading this book, and the author recounts this situation where a guy is at a seminar and he's telling the author, like, I'm here and I wish I could enjoy it. They're having a seminar near the ocean, they have all these views, and it's a great teaching moments and all that. And he's like, I really wish I could enjoy this, but my wife keeps nagging me. Where are you? Who are you with? Who'd you eat dinner with? And all of these things.
Oh, yikes.
And he's like, I can't stand it. But then he passes this comment. He's like, well, I guess she knows the right questions to ask, because it was at a seminar like this that we met at. And I was married to someone else. So she stole him from someone at a seminar, so now she can't even relax when he's at a seminar.
Peace of mind.
You don't want that. So
right. Oof.
Do not be making nobody jealous. Just if you're interested, pursue. If not, just let it go. And let's move on to the next one, which you hear all the time, that this person can change. They can change. Trash or treasure. Oh, this should be interesting. 3, 2, 1.
Trash.
Okay.
Oh wow.
I feel like I wanted to say treasure, but I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what? They can change in the way that it's said a lot is where I'm gonna go, because I tend to go with like
That's what I'm
what
thinking
I
too.
think of it, but the
Right.
way it's presented a lot in society is like, it doesn't matter what a person is showing you, just believe that they can change, or you can change them, or something like that. Whereas that they can change, that I think we should have is, again, it goes back to the root. Do they want to change? Do they
Exactly.
understand that what they're doing is
Yes.
wrong? Do they see
Value.
value in changing? Because if they don't, then this becomes trash advice. If they
Right.
do, then you can treasure that advice, because like we I think we've hit it multiple times today alone, that some people don't come in a perfect package, so they can change, and they will, but do they want to?
Exactly.
In that case, sure, but if not, trash.
Right. I remember listening to this podcast where this woman, she mentioned how she knew her relationship was over when she asked the guy, let's go for counseling. And he was like, he has absolutely nothing, no part of him that he feels like he wants to like change. That essentially he was perfectly, and it was like very absolute words, like he was perfectly content and
Wow.
satisfied with who he was, and there was no part of him that he was interested in changing. And the reason she had brought up the counsel was because she had mentioned to him prior conversations, in multiple prior conversations, that there were certain things that he was doing that was hurting her. Ooh.
Yeah.
And yeah,
That's a person who does not.
that's a made up mind.
Yeah. Were they married, or were they dating?
They were dating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully she made that decision early, and that's great. So yeah, the changing thing, there's a good way to see it and a bad way to see it, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it goes back to, do they want to?
Right. And I will take the next one. We have just a couple more, but this advice says your perfect match is out there. Trash or treasure? 3, 2, 1. Trash.
Okay, I think it's garbage, because we've dealt with this in a couple of previous episodes, how the one is not out there. There are kinds of people that are, matches, suitable matches. There's no perfect match, because you yourself are not perfect. So who's gonna perfectly match you?
Right.
You are a kind of person, and then there are kinds of people who will be suitable for you.
Yes.
And they're not necessarily out there. Sometimes you just have to look a little closer to home. So yeah.
Right. We, like you mentioned, we have dealt very much in depth about this. So there is no perfect person. Just look for compatible characters and go from there.
Yeah. Real quick to the last final two. If it's meant to be, it will be. Trash or treasure? 3, 2, 1. Trash.
What?
Okay. Wait, that was gonna say
I
treasure?
thought you were gonna say treasure.
No.
Because you're very like, oh, just not necessarily let things happen, but I know you're more of like, you're opposed to forcing things, or
Yeah, I'm opposed to forcing things,
Right.
but not pursuing things. Like,
right.
I see a difference between
forcing and pursuing.
forcing and just, we think this might work. Let's go after it.
Right.
But if the
Right.
person's like, I don't want anything to do with you, and
I'll text you when I text you. I'll call
thing
you.
is, you're a shipper. You like shipping people together.
No.
That's when you see me say, don't force it. Just let things play out.
I see what you mean. Just let it play out.
Okay, it'll come to me like, oh, you see this girl and this guy? I think they'll be really good together. It'll be a great fit. What do you think? I'm like, I don't have any opinions. Just let it play out.
I may or may not have shipped my 1-year-old already, but that's besides the point.
But in a relationship, when it's your relationship, it's not. It will be when it bees or whatever.
And the bees.
Whatever it says, it's just, again, pursue what you see, if that's what you want in a person, and don't leave it up to the stars aligning or whatever.
Right. The stars, yes. I think the word I love is intentionality. Just be intentional. Do not waste people's time. Do not let people waste your time. And I'm not saying don't be patient with people, but if, for instance, you have things that's like someone says, oh, I need to make money, or I need to do this, let us sit down together and let us make up a plan. Let us see where we are, where we're going, and how we're going to get there. I was a lot worse. Trust me. Before I met Jeremiah, I needed dates. I needed how much. I needed, when, what would, I just needed it to be so concrete. But now I am a little more laxed, maybe like by 15% more laxed, where it's like, yes, there's some level of flow that is necessary to just make it like fun
and we're already
healthy.
married,
right?
like dating, it's like there's a lot more quote unquote work that goes into.
There's a lot more.
Well, maybe that's not true because there's work in marriage, I think, but dating, you're actually trying to figure out if you're even gonna end up with this person.
Right.
So you can't necessarily let everything flow in the name of, oh, if it'll happen, it'll happen. Like you get in an argument with the person you're dating, and
You can just
instead of finding ways to remedy what's wrong and see where the other person's coming from and try to understand each other, it's like, oh, let him go, let her go. If it's meant to be, it'll be. That's where I'm like, that's trash.
right.
All right. The last one we're looking at, kind of hinted at it just now, but the last one is relationships are hard work. Trash or treasure? 3, 2, 1.
Treasure.
Okay. Oh, we didn't disagree as much as I thought I would. What do you think?
Relationships are hard work, especially in the beginning. It's not forever, and it's not supposed to be hard work forever. That's when it's like trash advice. Like if you have this mindset of, I'm gonna suffer my entire life with this. No, that's not it. That's not what we're talking about. And yes, there are different seasons, and they all come with their own, things to work through. But when it comes to the initial establishment of the relationship, there needs to be, hey, what is actually healthy for our household? What is actually healthy for our relationship? And we need to keep addressing those things until we come to some level of similar mindedness, like-mindedness, and we can go from there. So you need that confrontation, you need that conflict. It doesn't need to get out of hand. Let's just say it doesn't need to blow up. It doesn't need to be slamming of doors and all these other unnecessary things, but understanding that you have to have hard conversations to come to some common ground.
Relationships are hard work because relationships involve emotions.
Yes.
And they involve two people who may have had completely different backgrounds. And they definitely have had completely different lives,
right,
and experiences. And you're bringing these two people together and saying that, hey, now y'all are going to live under one roof and raise a family and share everything from food to finances to picking the temperature on the thermostat. Like it, there's a lot that goes into it. So it's hard work in the sense that, there's a lot of understanding.
Right.
You have to know your person. We say all the time, we train each other. We're trying to understand each other better. That never ends because the person you're with never stops growing, hopefully. And even if they're not mentally growing, hopefully that's not the case, but they'll be in different seasons.
Right.
Like the Oge I knew that I was dating is completely different from the mama Oge that I know today. And the Jeremiah from 5 years ago is not the same as a dad.
Right.
So now she has to understand why I act the way I do as a dad.
Right.
As opposed to, wait, when we were dating or when we were first married, he wasn't really acting this way. And the same thing, I have to understand her in that way. So that's really the work that goes into it. Anything you want to work takes work. I mean,
right.
That's just the law of life. So don't let that deter you from a good relationship. It's just part of life, and enjoy it. Enjoy the work. It's part of making things fun and enjoyable. So any last things you want to say? No, go ahead.
We're definitely going to delve more on this a little later, but this is like we talked about, just the sorry, I don't know when my mind just went blank right now, but I was going to say, just, I for lack of a better word, the intentional approach with which you pursue understanding your person. Like we mentioned, it's a lifetime thing. So you don't want to wake up with next to somebody you've been married to for 30 years and you're like, I have no idea who they are, because they kept changing with each and every passing year. You need to stay in a learning position, but we'll talk about more of that later.
Yeah, for sure. Let us know what you guys thought of this episode and what y'all's opinions are on these pieces of advice. If you're watching on YouTube, kindly leave a comment below. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, rate and review the podcast. And we'll see y'all next time. But before we go,
Oh gosh.
babe,
Oh no.
what did one wall say to the other wall?
What?
I'll meet you at the corner. All right, guys. Take it easy. We'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.